The numbers improved again this season. A little faster, a little stronger, a little closer than the version of me from a year ago. People noticed and I appreciated that, but every compliment seemed to stop a few steps short of the place I actually wanted to reach. It's a strange feeling, being proud and frustrated at the same time, celebrating progress while mourning the gap that still remains. How close is close enough? How much progress counts? When does almost finally become something worth resting in? Because the finish line keeps moving inside my mind. I remember dreaming about this level years ago. Back then, today would have looked like success without question. It's standing here now, all I can see is the next distance, the next challenge, the next version of who I want to become. Maybe ambition has poor eyesight, maybe it struggles to see what's already gained, because it's always staring at what's still missing. How close is close enough? Close enough for pride, close enough for peace, close enough to stop measuring myself against a horizon that keeps expanding. For someone it's a marathon time, for someone a promotion, for someone a dream they've chased so long it became part of their identity. And maybe that's why the question matters, because when a goal lives inside you long enough, the finish line becomes personal. The older I get, the more I wonder whether success is reaching the summit or becoming someone capable of climbing it in the first place. Maybe I don't need a perfect answer. Maybe the tension between gratitude and ambition isn't a problem to solve. Maybe growth lives there, in that space where you're thankful for how far you've come and hungry for what still lies ahead. How close is close enough? I still don't know, but I know this: the younger version of me would be amazed to see how far we've come. And maybe that's worth something too. Still reaching, still grateful, still running.
Close enough to see it, too far to touch it. That was the story more times than I'd like. Standing near goals that seemed to move whenever I approached. A few seconds missing, a few places short, a few mistakes too many, a few opportunities late. Nothing dramatic, just small distances with large emotions. People celebrate winners because winners have endings, but most journeys live somewhere else, between almost and not yet. Always one step short, always one more hill, always another reason to come back tomorrow. The dream stayed ahead, not to punish me, but to keep me moving. I remember the finish lines that didn't go my way, the races where effort was enough for pride but not enough for the result I wanted. The strange thing is those disappointments never left completely. They followed me home, became part of the fuel for future mornings. Maybe frustration has its own purpose, maybe near misses teach lessons that easy victories never bother teaching. Always one step short and still showing up, still lacing the shoes, still chasing the horizon, still believing the next attempt might tell a different story. For someone, it's a marathon goal. For someone, an exam score. For someone, a business dream hovering just beyond reach. And every almost carries a choice: become bitter or become better. Walk away revealing itself later. Maybe the goal was never mocking me. Maybe it was teaching me how much stronger I was willing to become to reach it. Because some dreams stay just out of reach long enough to transform the person doing the reaching. Always one step short until one day I'm not. And if that day comes, it won't be luck. It'll be every attempt that almost worked finally working. Not there yet. Still moving. Still close. The world suggested I should know by now who I am, what I want, where I'm going, and how the story ends before it gets there. But every year keeps teaching me that certainty is rare, and becoming never really finishes. It simply changes shape along the way. Some people stop dreaming, some stop trying, some stopped asking what else might be possible. After enough disappointments collected over time, still making promises to tomorrow. That's how I know the fire survived. Not louder, not younger, just steady enough to keep moving forward again. One more run for a stronger future. One more lesson for a wider world. One more attempt for a dream that still deserves a chance. Most of those efforts look insignificant while they're happening just ordinary evenings spent investing in someone I haven't met yet. The future never asked for perfection, only participation, only presence, only another vote cast in favor of possibility. Still making promises to tomorrow, through tired legs, through long work days, through unfinished plans and responsibilities that never seem to take a day off. For someone, tomorrow means healing. For someone, freedom. For someone, a marathon finish line still glowing softly on the horizon. And every promise sounds small at first. Wake up earlier, run one more mile, learn one more thing, save a little more. Keep going. The older I become, the more I admire people who still believe, not blindly but bravely, after reality has shown its full weight. Maybe hope isn't a feeling. Maybe hope is a habit. The decision to keep preparing for a future you cannot guarantee will arrive. Because every meaningful life contains unseen faith. Small daily actions placed carefully into days that haven't happened yet. Still making promises to tomorrow, and maybe I always will. Because giving up on tomorrow would mean giving up on the person I'm still becoming. One ordinary day at a time. Future unseen, promise made. See you tomorrow. I thought the seats would be gone by now, given away to Someone younger, someone faster, someone who never stopped believing along the way. Years pass quietly through promotions, through moving boxes, through grocery lists, through responsibilities that arrived without asking permission. And somewhere inside that noise, old dreams became quieter. Not because they died, but because life kept speaking louder for a while. Old dreams, reserved seats, that's what I found. A place still waiting, a name still written on the corner of possibility, where I thought time had erased everything. The stadium lights inside my imagination hadn't gone dark. The road still stretched forward. The unfinished songs still remember their melodies without me. I expected regret, instead I found recognition, like returning to a hometown cafe where someone smiles before you say your name. Maybe real dreams don't compete with time. Maybe they simply adapt, waiting patiently for older hands and wiser hearts to return. Old dreams, reserved seats, safe through every detour, through every delay, through every version of me that thought the opportunity had already passed. For someone, it's a marathon. For someone, a business idea. For someone, the language still sleeping inside forgotten notebooks. And every dream asks differently, but they all carry the same quiet question, not where were you, but ready to continue. The older I get, the less I admire speed, and the more I admire return, because return means something survived all those years apart. Some ambitions fade, some interests disappear, but certain dreams stay strangely alive beneath decades of ordinary life. Maybe that's how you know which dreams belong to you. They don't leave even when you do. Old dreams, reserved seats, I almost missed you, thinking I was too late, thinking the story had ended, when all along the next chapter was waiting to be open. Same dream, older soul, reserved seat, still available. I thought everything moved on without me. The road, the dream, the version of myself that used to wake early for reasons I couldn't explain to anyone. Years gathered quietly around unfinished plans, old race entries, forgotten notebooks, and promises made during seasons I barely remember now. So I expected distance, I expected regret, I expected the feeling of starting over from the very beginning again. Just waiting where we left off, that's what surprised me. The road wasn't gone, the dream wasn't gone. They were standing quietly at the last familiar corner, waiting for me to continue the sentence. The bridge looks smaller than I remember, the hill looks shorter, the
fear looked older, and somehow the silence between us felt strangely comfortable. No lectures, no punishment, no reminder of lost time, just an invitation to pick up the story from the middle. Maybe that's how real passions behave. They don't chase you through life, they simply remain where meaning once lived. Just waiting where we left off, not demanding explanations, not asking why, just offering another chance to continue becoming the person I once hoped to be for someone. It's a marathon dream for someone, a language for someone, a guitar gathering dust in the corner of a room. And every unfinished thing holds the same question, not why did you stop, but are you ready now? The older I become, the more beautiful I find unfinished stories, because unfinished means possibilities survive the passing years. Just waiting where we left off, through every season, through every detour, through every version of who I've been. The dream stayed patient long enough for me to People think time destroys everything, but time also reveals what truly mattered, because the important things are often the things still waiting years later. Not every dream survives absence, not every goal survives distance, but the ones that do usually belong closer to your heart than you realize. Just waiting where we left off, not at the finish line, not in the future, but back there where belief first began, and where hope never fully left. Same dream, older hands, open page, continue. Behind newer boxes and things I rarely use, they waited quietly, exactly where I left them. A pair of running shoes, holding years inside worn out soles. The color had faded, the cushioning had thinned, small cracks near the edges, evidence of roads I no longer remembered clearly, but they did. Funny how objects keep stories alive long after details disappear. A photograph captures a moment, but these shoes remembered entire seasons. Old shoes, familiar hope, that's what I found today. Not just rubber, not just fabric, but pieces of a dream, still waiting quietly where I left them. They remembered the first nervous race, the training runs in rain, the mornings I almost quit, the evenings I came anyway, when motivation never showed up. They knew every shortcut, every hill, every excuse, every comeback, and every promise I made to myself between footsteps. I thought the dream had grown distant, hidden behind schedules, responsibilities, and years spent building other parts of life. Old shoes, familiar hope, the dream wasn't gone, just stored begin. For someone, it's an old race bib. For someone, a medal. For someone, a forgotten training log found in a drawer years later. And suddenly the person you used to be walks back into the room, bringing unfinished dreams, unfinished roads, and unfinished conversations with yourself. The older I get, the more I understand that hope changes shape, but rarely disappears. Sometimes it simply waits for the right moment to be recognized again. Old shoes, familiar hope. I smiled when I saw them, because they reminded me that some dreams don't need replacing. They just need another chance. Old shoes, same hope. Let's go again. I remember thinking this might be enough. After the injury, after the disappointment, after another season that didn't become what I hoped it would. The shoe stayed untouched for a little while, resting near the door, collecting silence, while excuses slowly learn my name again. Maybe you've been there too, standing between walking away and trying again, not sure which version of yourself would win. Not the last run, though I thought it was. Not the final mile, though it felt that way. Because something inside me kept leaving a light on for the road to find me again. Wasn't dramatic, no movie soundtrack, no breakthrough moment. Just one quiet evening when staying home felt heavier than going outside. The first mile hurt, the second felt awkward, the third felt familiar. And suddenly the road remembered me before I remembered myself. It's strange how passion works. Sometimes it sleeps, sometimes it hides, sometimes it waits patiently behind disappointment for another invitation to return. Not the last run, just a difficult chapter. Not the ending, just a longer pause. The story kept moving even while I thought it had stopped. For someone, it's after an injury. For someone, after burnout. For someone, after life becomes crowded with responsibilities and unfinished obligations. And every runner learns eventually that consistency is never stopping. It's learning how to come back. The older I become, the less I admire perfection, and the more I admire returning, because returning requires a different kind of courage. road feels quieter now, not empty, just different. Like a favorite song, missing one instrument you only notice after it's gone. Life happened quickly, new jobs, new responsibilities, different schedules, different cities, different mornings, calling us away. Yet every now and then I still hear your voice near the hardest climb, saying something simple that somehow made the distance easier to carry. One more run together, that's all I'm asking. Not a race, not a record, just another morning where the miles disappear inside good company again. The bridge is still here, the river still moves, the sunrise still arrives right on time. Some things changed, some things didn't, and both feel strange. I pass the places where conversations lived, future plans, bad jokes raised, predictions, dreams we carried between footsteps. Funny how friendship works, sometimes distance grows, but connection doesn't, because certain people become part of your route, even when they're absent. One more run together through slower years, through changing seasons, through everything life added after we first met on those ordinary roads long ago. For someone, it's a training partner. For someone, a race companion. For someone, the person who understands why running matters without needing an explanation. And maybe that's rare, the older we get, finding people who understand certain parts of your heart without many words. Time measures many things, age, distance, careers, but friendship measures differently, through memories, through loyalty, through showing up again. One more run together someday, soon we'll start too fast, talk too much, laugh at old stories, and somehow pick up right where we left off. Different roads, same friendship, one more run waiting ahead. At first, you were just another runner, a familiar face, passing the same river path on the same mornings, with the same sleepy eyes before sunrise. We exchanged small nods, nothing more, the kind of greeting people give strangers who happen to share the same stretch of road again and again. No one planned it, no one announced it, no one said let's become friends. The road handled that part without asking us, running into friendship 1 mile at a time. A conversation here, a laugh there,
until one day the road felt strange without you on it. We talked about races, then work, then family, then dreams, then the things people usually keep hidden from strangers. Some mornings were easy, some were exhausting, some runs felt endless, but somehow shared miles always seem shorter than solo ones. It's funny how trust grows not through speeches, but through repetition, through showing up, through seeing someone keep going when things get difficult. Running into friendship through winter mornings, through summer heat, through races, through setbacks, through years that moved faster than expected. For someone, friendship begins at school. For someone at work, for us, it began somewhere between kilometer 3 and kilometer 4. No introductions needed, no perfect timing, just shared effort, shared weather, shared goals, and enough mornings to build something real. The older I get, the more I value people who understand certain parts of my life without needing long explanations first. Running into friendship might be my favorite surprise, because I started running to change myself and ended up finding people I never expected to meet. Same sunrise, same road, good friend, unexpected gift. The future never knocked, wearing a name tag, never arrived early to introduce itself, never said, "This is the day you'll remember later." Instead it hid itself inside routine, inside alarm clocks, inside unfinished evenings, inside runs that felt too ordinary to matter much. I kept looking ahead toward distant milestones, while something important was happening quietly beneath my attention every single day. Future built in disguise, wearing the clothes of today, looking like repetition, looking like effort, looking like another run nobody would talk about for years. A rainy river path, a forgotten workout, a slow recovery jog after a difficult week. Nothing about them felt significant enough to change a life, yet somehow they kept adding pieces to a version of me I hadn't met yet, building quietly behind the scenes of ordinary life. The strange thing about becoming is that you rarely notice while it's happening. The bridge is crossed one step at a time until the old shore is far behind you. Future built in disguise, hidden inside habits, hidden inside patience, hidden inside evenings where quitting would have been easier, but continuing felt more honest. For someone, the future begins with a single kilometer. For someone, a single lesson. For someone, one more attempt after disappointment. And none of those moments look important enough while they're happening, because foundations rarely announce themselves before supporting something bigger. I used to imagine the future as an arrival,
I see a different way. The future was construction happening quietly inside days I almost overlooked. Future built in disguise, piece by piece, choice by choice, mile by mile, until one day the life I hoped for was standing beside me. People celebrate outcomes because outcomes are visible, but outcomes are only rooftops built on structures nobody notices while they're being raised. Maybe that's why ordinary days deserve gratitude, because they're carrying materials for futures still hidden from view. Future built in disguise, I understand it now. The dream never arrived suddenly, it was assembled quietly through thousands of moments that looked nothing like success. No spotlight, no announcement, just tomorrow being built today. There was a time when hesitation sat beside me, before every difficult run, before every bigger goal, before every road that stretched beyond what felt comfortable. Questions arrived early, louder than footsteps, stronger than confidence. Always prepared with reasons to stop before I had even started moving. And the strange thing is, those voices never vanish. They still visit sometimes during hard workouts, long runs, or uncertain seasons of life. Oh, doubts, smaller voices, that's the difference now. The fear still speaks, but it no longer leads. It rides in the backseat while effort keeps its hands on the wheel. The river path taught patience, the long runs taught trust, and ordinary evenings taught something unexpected. The courage is in silence, it's movement despite the noise. Some worries prove wrong, some came true, yet neither stopped the road from teaching me that progress survives even imperfect confidence. Over time, I used to wait until I felt ready, until uncertainty disappeared, until belief felt complete, but readiness rarely arrived before the first step anyway. Old doubts, smaller voices, because evidence accumulated. Mile after mile, run after run, showed me I could handle more than those fears predicted. For someone, the doubt is pace. For someone, the doubt is age. For someone, it's wondering if they started too late to become who they want to be. And none of those fears need to disappear entirely, because bravery was never the absence of doubt. It was continuing while doubt remained nearby. The older I become, the more I trust experience. Not because experience guarantees success, but because it reminds me how many worries fail to become reality. Old doubts, smaller voices, I hear them differently now. Less like warnings, more like echoes from versions of me still learning how far we could go. People often imagine confidence as something permanent, but confidence changes It grows, it weakens, it returns just like fitness does. Maybe wisdom isn't becoming fearless. Maybe it's recognizing which voices deserve attention and which voices have been wrong before. Old doubts, smaller voices, and that's enough for me. I never needed perfect certainty, just enough belief to keep taking the next step after the last one. Same doubts, lower volume, still moving forward again. To arrive with proof. New records, clear victory. Something obvious enough. アコースティックギターが心地よく広がり、リズム感のあるピアノのメロディーが続きます。穏やかな景色が広がり、心が安らぐ瞬間を焼き出すような癒しの音楽です。ランニングが通勤、勉強仕事の集中タイムにぴったり、時あり軽やかな手拍子も加わり、さらにリズムに引き込まれます。 Maybe growth looks like this, not louder, not bigger, just stronger in places nobody else can see, until life asks something hard of you and you answer differently. The route stayed familiar, the river stayed familiar, the same bridge waited ahead like it always had, yet somehow the person crossing it kept changing slowly. I stopped checking my watch quite so often, stopped needing every run to justify itself, stopped believing every good day needed a reason. I thought confidence would feel dramatic, but confidence arrived quietly like a friend who visited often enough to become part of the house without announcement. Maybe growth looks like this, showing up consistently after motivation leaves, trust in the process without needing evidence every single week to keep believing in it. For someone growth is distance, for someone it's recovery, for someone it's learning not to quit when progress slows down. And none of those victories need a finish line, because some changes happen internally first, long before the outside world has anything to celebrate. The most meaningful improvements rarely arrive all at once, they accumulate through repetition, through ordinary evenings, through choices that seem small at the time. Maybe growth looks like this, a little more resilience, a little more patience, a little less fear than last season, than last year, than the version before. People notice outcomes because outcomes are visible, but growth spends most of its life underground, building roots before it ever becomes something people can point to. Same road, different mind, still growing. Maybe growth looks like this, quiet enough to overlook, powerful enough to change a life without fanfare, without headlines, without asking for
recognition first. Same road, different mind. Still growing. The runners ahead slowly disappeared around the bend, while my own pace felt stuck somewhere between where I started and where I hoped to be. My watch showed numbers I wasn't proud of, not terrible, not impressive, just somewhere in the middle, where comparison likes to whisper when you're already tired. It's easy to believe you're falling behind when everyone else's highlights arrive daily through glowing screens and carefully chosen moments of success. Late progress is still progress, even when it arrives quietly, even when nobody notices, even when the distance between you and your goal feels wider tonight than it did before. There were seasons where improvement disappeared, runs felt heavier, motivation stayed away, and every effort seemed swallowed by invisible resistance. But something kept changing beneath the surface, small adaptations, tiny victories, the kind that never trend but still matter deeply over time. I used to think growth should be obvious, a straight line upward, clear evidence, easy to celebrate, easy to understand, but life rarely works that way. Late progress is still progress, like sunrise behind clouds, still arriving, even when hidden, still moving forward, even when today's evidence feels difficult to find. For someone, progress means speed. For someone, consistency. For someone, simply returning after weeks away and beginning again. And none of those victories deserve less respect, because timing doesn't determine value. Growth remains growth, even when delayed. The older I become, the more I admire people who continue anyway, without immediate reward, without obvious results, without certainty that success is coming soon. Late progress is still progress, I believe that now, because many of my best changes arrive later than I planned, but right on time for the person I was becoming. People celebrate quick success because quick success is visible, but slower growth often builds deeper roots, strong enough to survive difficult weather later on. Maybe your timeline was never wrong, maybe it simply belonged to your story instead of someone else's all along. Still growing. Talent always look brighter from a distance. Faster runners, easier victories. People who seemed born already moving toward the finish line. Meanwhile, I was learning how to show up again after bad runs, after skipped workouts, after weeks where progress felt lost somewhere behind me. to arrive, like a gift, like permission, like proof that I belonged on roads like these. I owe more to routine than talent, more to repetition than inspiration, more to ordinary evenings than extraordinary ability, because the miles that changed me most were rarely impressive while I was running them. Alarm clocks mattered more than motivation, speeches, rain jackets mattered more than perfect conditions, and consistency mattered more than the version of success I imagined at the beginning. The river path didn't care how gifted I was, only whether I returned, whether I laced my shoes, whether I kept moving when excuses felt reasonable and comfortable. I used to underestimate small efforts, because small efforts look insignificant alone, but stacked together, they quietly became a different life. I owe more to routine than talent, to Tuesdays after work, to winter mornings, to runs nobody remembers, to promises kept privately long before results started becoming visible. For someone, talent starts the journey. For someone, it opens doors. But routine keeps showing up long after excitement leaves, and conditions stop cooperating. And maybe that's why I trust habits more now, because habits stayed when confidence disappeared, when motivation faded, and when progress slowed down. The strongest part of growth isn't speed, it's reliability, the ability to continue without needing perfect emotions to participate first. I owe more to routine than talent, because routine never asked whether I felt ready. It simply waited for another ordinary day to become another brick in something larger. People love stories about natural ability because they're exciting, but most real change looks repetitive, quiet, and occasionally boring. Maybe greatness isn't hidden inside talent alone. Maybe it's hidden inside the decision to keep returning when nobody expects you to. I owe more to routine than talent, and I'm grateful for that, because habits can be built, effort can be repeated, and ordinary people can travel farther than they once believed possible. No shortcut, no secret, just returning again. Lunchboxes in the sink, work clothes over a chair, weather check without thinking, running shoes by the door. Another evening unfolding, almost exactly like last Tuesday did. Nothing felt historic about the moment. Traffic drifting past, someone walking a dog, a train crossing in the distance, while I stretched quietly under fading daylight. If you had asked me then when everything was changing, I probably would have shrugged, because growth rarely introduces itself while it's happening. It just keeps showing up in ordinary clothes. Common days, lasting change, that's how it happened for me. Not through one perfect run, not through one perfect decision, but through small choices, repeated often enough to become part
looked the same, the bridge looked the same, the street lights came on at the same time as always. Yet somehow the person crossing beneath them wasn't quite the same anymore. A distance that once felt intimidating became part of the route. A pace that once felt risky became part of the rhythm. Without fanfare, without permission, without announcement, I expected improvement to feel dramatic, something obvious, something impossible to miss. But real progress moves quietly through repetition, like water shaping stone. Common days, lasting change built inside weekday evenings, inside alarm clocks, inside rain forecast, in sirens that would have looked completely ordinary to everyone else. For someone, change begins with 1 kilometer. For someone, with one healthier choice. For someone, with simply showing up again after a difficult season they almost didn't survive. And none of those beginnings look impressive at first, because foundations rarely do. They stay underground long before anyone notices what they're holding up. The most valuable transformations often arrive unnoticed, not because they're small, but because they're woven slowly into everyday life, until they become inseparable from who you are. Common days, lasting change, I understand it now, because the life I wanted wasn't built on exceptional moments. It was built on ordinary evenings. I almost skipped. People search for turning points because turning points make good stories, but many lives change differently through repeated actions, too familiar to celebrate while they're happening. Maybe the secret isn't intensity, maybe it's staying close to the habits that help you grow long enough for them to change you. Common days, lasting change, the proof is everywhere now. In the distances I run, in the confidence I carry, in the goals that no longer scare me, in the roads that feel like home. Same evening, same road, new strength still.